potential for things to get a little bit weird at Redbird Arena. Wichita State and Illinois State. The Shockers 15-3 and the Redbirds 13-4. Most importantly, both teams 5-0 in the Missouri Valley Conference as they play for sole possession here in the Valley. So glad to have you with us, Mike Cousins, along with former Division I head coach Mark Adams. And the Shockers, whether at home or on the road over the last few seasons, have been the team to beat in the Valley.
The Shockers have been dominating. How dominating? They have the best conference record in the country since 2013, 2014. Since 2010-11, they're the best road team in America, winning over 82% of their games. In order for Illinois State to win here tonight, a great leader in the form of a point guard in Paris Lee needs to step up big against this perennial champion in the Missouri Valley Conference.
Lee will try and help lead the way for the Redbirds as they try to go to 6-0 for the first time since 2008. Wichita State 15-3, 5-0. Their only losses against Louisville, Michigan State, and Oklahoma State.
There's Paris Lee. Double-figure score, over 5 assists a game. 47% from three, and he has a defensive menace. Keep your eye on number one for the Redbirds here tonight at Illinois State.
A pair of exceptionally talented defensive teams overall as well. Wichita State in the road black uniforms, Illinois State in the home white, and Phil Fain helps win the opening tip for the Redbirds. It's Lee with the basketball. And underneath, Tom O'Neill, one of our three officials tonight, with Bo Borowski, Terry Davis with the first whistle. Foul is against Darrell Willis. On Marcus McDuffie, rather, the leading scorer for Wichita State. So he picks up his first 11 seconds in.
I think this game's going to be called very tight early. The officials know these are two teams certainly respect each other. As Paris Lee knocks down the three ball, but they don't particularly like each other.
Well, they've got to respect Lee from three-point range. She shoots a team best 47% and gets the scoring started tonight. The Shockers look to respond. Smith no good from the corner. Redbirds basketball.
Paris Lee has improved so much on his ability to knock down the three ball. He was a guy you didn't have to guard from behind the arc early in his career, but he's worked hard to improve in that area.
Out of bounds, last touch by McIntosh for Illinois State. So 3-0 on the strength of a Paris Lee three-pointer. And the Shockers come in here on the road, winners of 10 of their last 11. Last time out on Wednesday, going up against Loyola Chicago. It was a tough game. Ended up winners 87-75, but gave them a real good challenge. Their first here in the new calendar year.
I'll get a chance to see Loyola tomorrow on ESPNU. It'll be 4 o'clock Eastern time as they take on Missouri State, another team that's making a charge in the Valley.
Out of bounds, and back to Illinois State. Yep, Missouri State not far off the hot start of the Shockers and the Redbirds, 12-6 and 3-2 in the Valley. So here it is, full court pressure. Just 90 seconds in from the Shockers.
Wichita State will go very, very deep on their bench. They'll go 10, 11 guys deep. Illinois State, more of a 7, 8-man depth chart. And so foul trouble could be a key element in this game.
From 13 feet, offensive foul. McIntosh. Not 2 minutes in, we're happy to have you with us tonight here in Normal, Illinois. It's a battle for first place in the Missouri Valley Conference. Wichita State and Illinois State, a pair of 5-0 teams, along with Mark Adams, Mike Cousins, courtside here as these two teams, probably the most heated rivalry right now within the Missouri Valley Conference.
And Wichita State, the best road team in the country since 2010, 2011. All they've done is win 82% of their games on the road. Winning 82% on the road. That's just an incredible number for Wichita State, but they're coming into a rabid house tonight.
Nearly a packed Redbird Arena here to watch this matchup. Wichita State, Landry Shamet. He does not cough it up much. It helps lead a scoring charge where the Shockers drop in 83 points a game.
Yeah, Landry Shamet with 54 assists, only 17 turnovers, and he's only a freshman. He really handles this team well. He passes the ball so well. Highly skilled freshman for Wichita State.
And on that deep roster, he's the only player to have started now all 19 games for head coach Greg Marshall.
Keep your eye on Paris Lee, number 1 in white. He's the guy that makes this team go.
All the way to the basket. Lefty lay-in was halfway down for McIntosh, but couldn't get it to fall.
I'm surprised that Mikhail McIntosh didn't go up and dunk that. I mean, he's a good enough athlete. As a little bit of help defense probably took him off his stride just a tad. He's a good athlete and a very good finisher. I'm surprised to see him miss that layup.
Deshaun Smith runs the point, the transfer from Tallahassee Community College. Shamet looks to the inside. McDuffie curls off the screen. And off back iron, here comes Lee and the Redbirds. Lee into the lane, one bounce. And out of bounds as Clayton went to the rim.
But how hard is it to guard Paris Lee in the open court? He surveys the entire time. He finds gaps in the defense, and he's elite going left. He can explode going left, which puts a lot of pressure on the defense.
He's the Valley leader at just about 5 assists a game. One quick pass. Three-pointer good for Tony Wills.
If Tony Wills makes shots, that's a good sign for Illinois State. He's only 28 from behind the arc, 28%.
Willis goes off the window for a long two. Now Lee wants 3. Offensive rebound. Stick back doesn't go for Fain. McDuffie pushes for the Shockers. In the fray for the offensive rebound. He couldn't put it back in. Lee with his eyes perpetually up. The post was open. And no driving opportunity for Clayton. 15 on the shot clock. Splits the defenders. The extra pass to the corner. And the second 3 falls. Wills does it again.
Paris Lee just exploded by 2 defenders. Quick on quick. Paris Lee, number 1 for Illinois State.
McDuffie lost it. Into the hands of Fain. Lee's ahead of the pack to the basket. Whoa! Oh, what a beautiful reverse layup. Early 6-point lead for the Redbirds. And a whistle on the floor.
Paris Lee, one of the elite point guards in America.
First place in the Valley tonight here at Redbird Arena in Normal, Illinois. And the Redbirds out to an 11-5 lead. Glad to have you with us tonight. Mike Cousins, former Division I head coach Mark Adams. 5 of those Illinois State points coming from their point guard, Paris Lee.
Yeah, Paris Lee is one of my favorite point guards in the country, and there's 2 of them that I really like. And for various reasons, as we look at Lonzo Ball and Paris Lee, there's the scoring that those 2, but when you start narrowing it down to assists, Lonzo Ball elite in that area of 8 assists per game. But when you talk about three-point shooting, Paris Lee at 47%, that's where he's improved so much. Those two are two of my favorite point guards in the country because they share it, they score it, and they can bang that three ball hard to guard. Paris Lee, he wears number 1 for a reason.
His scoring has gone up over his 4 years here in Normal. 7 as a freshman, 7 a game as a sophomore, 11 a game as a junior, and now averaging 13 points a game for Dan Muller. 3rd on the team behind Deontay Hawkins and Mikhail McIntosh.
He's got the 2nd most steals of all active players for his career right now as well. He'll end up being the active guy here pretty soon. Number 1. He's a defensive menace. That's what he is.
As this team is as well.
Both these teams are elite defensively, both in the top 10 in defensive field goal percentage.
Off the ball foul on David Njai. Illinois State, his first as he comes in. The 7-foot forward from Senegal playing defense against Darrell Willis, who shoots right over the top of him and drains the bucket.
Yeah, Darrell Willis can make this team elite because he's 6'8", he's got wingspan, he's got really good offensive skill set at that 15-foot and inside level. Great athlete. Number 21 for Wichita State, Darrell Willis.
And Keyshawn Evans, 3 in the white, just off the bench as well. The sophomore out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Whistled for the travel, so it's Wichita State basketball, down by 4.
I like this lineup for Wichita State. When Shaq Morris, number 24 for Wichita State, comes in, plays the 5 spot, Willis can play more his natural position, the 4, and they can look high-low, just like that.
Inside for Morris, a beautiful hook with the right hand.
Yeah, he can bull rush you. I mean, he's a guy that can get to the quarterback, you know, just gets to the rim.
6'8", 265. It's a perpetual double team needed to stop a guy like that. Five outside the paint. Evans drives and kicks. McIntosh unable to finish.
Shaq Morris with the block off and the rebound.
Brenkamp had a good look from 3 and went to get it inside for Brown, who had an even better opportunity. And now he'll go to the free throw line. Foul against Illinois State's DJ Clayton. Something to keep an eye on here. The fouls already for the Redbirds, 5-team fouls.
And again, that's a problem, especially when you play against Wichita State because of their depth. Mikhail McIntosh has to stay out of foul trouble, number 11. He's a great athlete that matches up well with Wichita State. Deontay Hawkins has to stay out of foul trouble, the 6'8" guy from Dayton, Ohio. And, of course, Paris Lee as well. Those are the key 3 for Illinois State that must avoid foul trouble.
Now, Zach Brown, you saw there in our Hoop Scoop, grew up a fan of spelling bees. All he needs to spell tonight is F-I-R-S-T, first. Both these teams 5-0 in the Missouri Valley and trying to gain sole possession of that spot.
Well, they've been in first place, I think, since my last child was born. And he's 11.
Traveling call going back the other way, now a 1-point game. But the last time that Wichita State wasn't in first place in the Valley was the end of the 2012-2013 regular season, a winner-take-all matchup against Creighton, March 2nd, 2013. And then they just rattled off 18 straight wins to start the next year.
Doug McDermott went for 41 in that game in Omaha, absolutely dominated. We thought that was the last home game of his collegiate career as a junior, but he came back to play in the Big East the next season as a senior and became the player of the year.
A double foul was called on the trip down the floor. Njai his 2nd, and Shaq Morris his 1st for Wichita State. So that's now 16 fouls against the Redbirds, against just 2 for the Shockers.
So the shot clock will stay at 16 with the double foul.
You know, coaches are always worried about the foul situation when they go on the road. So far, lopsided against the Redbirds, and now an offensive foul is called against Richard Kelly, the junior from Fredericksburg, Virginia, for the Shockers, his first.
Yeah, the officials are calling it tight. Listen, in the Missouri Valley, with Greg Marshall and Dan Moeller, again, there's no love lost between these two programs, and the officials know it. Everybody in the building knows it. Everybody in the Valley knows it. And so the officials are going to have a tight rein on this thing throughout this game.
Good look for Hawkins. Right back to the post. Shockers think they've got an advantage, and with size they do for Morris.
It's simple things. That's why I like Landry Shamet. He doesn't try to hit home runs. He hits singles. Passes the ball to the left-hand wing, which gives the angle to get the ball down the post to Shaq Morris. Shaq Morris very engaged early. That's good news for Wichita State.
Shockers on a 7-0 run over the last 2.5 minutes. Evans driving. Draws the foul with just 7 left on the shot clock. That's on Connor Frankamp, his first for the transfer from Kansas.
With Keyshawn Evans in the game, number 3 for Illinois State, and Paris Lee, you got 2 guards. Both can attack the rim. Both can get by. One's left-handed, one's right-handed. I really like when Dan Moeller goes to this lineup because it gives him tremendous quickness out on the perimeter.
And you mentioned the depth as well for Wichita State. How they're going to be able to make it difficult for Illinois State, especially if foul trouble becomes an issue. 10 players on the Shockers roster who get regular playing time, averaging between 13 and 24 minutes a game.
And the way they share the ball, Mike, that's the thing that blows me away. Austin Reeves right here, a freshman, number 12, highly skilled passer, another guy with a real high assist-to-turnover ratio, along with Connor Frankamp, number 33 in black right there.
They're going to go inside for Kelly. He lost it off the hand. Lee comes up with the takeaway. Clayton maybe got away with an extra step, and it's off his Nike. Back to the Shockers.
Well, Shaq Morris came to play tonight. He's doing it offensively. That time, got the deflection off the offensive player's leg defensively. When Shaquille Morris plays well for Wichita State, he changes their psyche. It's like when Deshaun Smith plays really well on the perimeter, it changes their psyche. They feel like they're invincible when those guys play well.
Reeves gets him through the pressure. And Mark, when the ball has been inside for Morris, it's been one dribble right to the basket. How about no dribbles for Frankamp for 3?
Those 4 guys, Shamet, Deshaun Smith, Connor Frankamp, and Austin Reeves, combined all shoot over 40% as a group. That's dangerous when you got 4 guys who can do that. And they're all over a 2-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio.
Smart players, sharp shooters. Hawkins has missed his last couple attempts from 3, but it's McIntosh who powers through and gets the and 1.
Mikhail McIntosh. That's an NBA rebound. No boys allowed here at Normal tonight. Mikhail McIntosh is a man.
Wichita State has won 7 straight true road games. Their last road loss against Illinois State, go back to last year, number 21 team in the country coming in here. No easy feat for the Redbirds, but they picked up the win.
Paris Lee had 13 points in the second half. He went up against 2 NBA guards, and Ron Baker and Fred Van Vliet in Illinois State. It was bonkers in Normal that night.
And going on the road, there has been nobody better than them over the last many years in college basketball.
Yeah, when you're cherry picking road losses from almost a year ago, you're pretty good on the road. Winning 82% on the road. What a job Greg Marshall has done with this program. The first 3 years were a rough ride, a la Mike Krzyzewski once upon a time at Duke. But since that time, it's been nothing but winning for Greg Marshall in Wichita State.
Well, he's only gone to the NCAA tournament 12 of his 18 years as a head coach, including the 2013 Final Four. So 7 straight true road victories for Wichita State. 4-0 in true road games this year. 15-3 overall. So the Redbirds at the free throw line go back up by 1.
This Illinois State team is a very experienced team, extremely athletic team that can challenge Wichita State. Remember, Wichita State is still an inexperienced basketball team. They're young as Darrell Willis takes the ball off the slip of the screen.
Off to his natural left side, second leading scorer for this team. The transfer from Pearl River Community College in Mississippi. One dribble, spin and a hoist, good for Hawkins.
Deontay Hawkins, he's one of those 6'8" guys, one of the top 3 for this Illinois State team. Number 23 in white, keep an eye on him along with McIntosh and Lee.
They double down the extra pass. Frankamp has his second made 3.
It's as good as it gets. Shaq Morris is doing everything right tonight. That time the assist to Connor Frankamp, who's looking like a really confident shooter right now.
Coming into play, 34% from three-point range.
They're going to go to Hawkins again. There he is.
He lost it, tried to tip it out for Lee. It's a backcourt violation for the Redbirds.
Yeah, that Darrell Willis matchup, number 21 in black, along with Deontay Hawkins, number 23 in white. That's an interesting matchup right there, as those two guys are very physical down low and trying to get offensive position here. Darrell Willis right there with the slip of the screen, a defensive miscue by Illinois State.
Mono Nurser into the game, number 20 in black. Junior big man from Estonia. Now he's got it. Back to the basket with the left hand. No. Offensive rebound back outside for Reeves. Reeves, a prolific scorer in his own right from the state of Arkansas. Frankamp nearly had it go down a third time.
That's a big time rebound. There's some bodies and athletes going after that thing.
Lee on the lob and a foul as he sent it up for Fain in his 6'9" frame. Number 2 on Marcus McDuffie, who takes his seat. The leading scorer for the Shockers is down with 9:45 left in the first.
I like what Phil Fain is doing in this game. He's playing his role as a rebounder, going after the offensive glass, very active.
Hawkins again for the block.
He's good. He's really good.
Averaging 15.7 rebounds. Every time down the floor, ball is into the post on the first look. And a good stop there from Illinois State.
Phil Fain building the fence around the basket.
Wills outside for Lee. He wants 3. High archer into the hands of Willis. Mark, how does this offense for Wichita State change when it's not Shamet who's initiating it?
You know, what they do well is they really spread the floor well. And with Shamet, with Connor Frankamp and Austin Reeves, look how the ball is able to move offensively, and then it creates gaps that you can expose. Those 3 guards can make a defense look bad in the rotations. Once they get by you, good luck trying to guard them.
And then you see help has to come over. Willis is wide open for the stick back to make it a 2-point Shockers advantage. 8.5 left to go in the first. Swatted away as Nurser comes across the lane. Hawkins tries his hand from 3. Saves it on the baseline, but gives it up for Frankamp.
Shamet's going to spot up on the backside.
Willis, 17-footer. But Greg Marshall said Willis has been in a little bit of a slump lately. Although most players would probably take 10 points, 6 points, 10 points as their 3-game total. Strong move with the basket by Kyle McIntosh.
Boy, is he strong. Watch the spacing of the black jerseys. Here's where they're different from a year ago. They run a lot more passing game. They spread the ball. They share the ball. We're more of a ball screen offense a year ago. I like what they do this year even better.
Nerzier, what a sense of where he was on the floor.
That's why. They play inside out with multiple bodies. They're really deep inside and outside. Ooh.
Foul on Willis. Shockers on the road, and a 2-point advantage over Illinois State. On ESPN starts in the ACC. Number 11, North Carolina. They'll be on the rise after a win over Florida State, and Syracuse at the Dean Dome 7 Eastern. And then at 9, it's out to Ames in the Big 12. Number 2 and potentially number 1, Kansas, going up against Iowa State. Both games also streaming live on the ESPN app. Watch ESPN.
I watched North Carolina today. Good win, by the way, over Florida State. Really good with Dwayne Bacon and that bunch. But North Carolina's a team, when Joel Berry II plays well, obviously that's a big plus for North Carolina. But when they play beer and pretzel defense, I really like them. When they go wine and cheese, can't stand to watch them.
Wine and cheese. You know, that sounds appealing to a lot of people, though.
Yeah, but I like beer and pretzel. I'm a beer and pretzel guy. I'm in Normal, Illinois right now. I'm more of a beer and pretzel guy. In the Valley, we believe in beer and pretzels. We don't do wine and cheese in the Valley.
Well, it's going to be a beer and cheese type of night in a battle for sole possession of first place.
See, now you're going all Wisconsin on me.
5-0.
Beer and cheese. You're going all Wisconsin on me now.
Well, hey, there's nothing wrong. As long as we've got cheese.
The Badgers are good.
Can we settle on that? Cheese curds in any form
no
you prefer
curds.
your dairy.
No, you can't have curds. You can have cheese, you can't have curds.
The Shockers looking to go 6-0. The Redbirds haven't been there since 2008. They're 5-0 for the first time in the league since the 07-08 season. So certainly much more uncharted water as of late for the Redbirds. DJ Clayton with the drive and the delivery to tie it up at 24.
Yeah, he played really well in the win versus Southern Illinois. Went for 13 points, carrying that momentum. And now Illinois State goes 2-3 zone, which was really effective against Wichita State in last season's victory here in Normal.
Fight for it on the floor. Smith comes up with it. 15-footer, turn around. Morris doesn't get it.
The zone worked.
And the defensive field goal percentage for Illinois State has been phenomenal. 6th in the country, 38%. You go back to mention that win over Southern Illinois on Wednesday, 7-point win. They held the Salukis to 19% from the floor in the second half. Now 3 on the shot clock. Wills cleared everything. Shot clock violation. The Redbirds turn it over.
So you talk about defense on the Illinois State side, really, really good. Wichita State also a top 10 team in defensive field goal percentage. I mean, these two teams hold their opponents in that 38% range. Both these teams can just be downright nasty defensively.
Redbirds 6th in the country. Shockers 10th in the country. Number 1 in that category happens to be a team with one of the best post defenders in America, UCF. With
Taco Fall. Taco Fall, he's got an 8-foot, 4-inch wingspan. He's 7 feet, 6 inches tall. Taco Fall's shooting 83% on the season, which will be the highest field goal percentage in NCAA history ever.
Redbirds have a rim defender of their own. Injai playing with 2 fouls, wipes it away. As Illinois State looks to take the lead. Backdoor feed. Clayton.
From McIntosh. Here's that zone. Again, this worked so well against Wichita State last season. I knew Dan Muller would go to it. Just a matter of when.
High-low. Big versus big. Wow, McIntosh came to play in the paint. He picks up his second personal foul, the 7th on the Redbirds.
Well, and that is a big foul right now with 4:55 to go as Mikhail McIntosh rotates from the backside and just rejects it. Boy, is that an athletic play. Boy, got all ball on that.
There's your 72% at the line.
Well, now McIntosh will have to sit. Deontay Hawkins comes back in the game. That's a big loss. When you've got three really good players, arguably great players in the Valley, and one of them has to sit for the last 4:55, that's a big loss for Illinois State here coming down the stretch.
Lane violation called against Shaq Morris. Tom O'Neill, the official on the backside of that play near the scorer's table, waved it off. Eagle eye.
Watch Shaq Morris there, he steps in.
It's a pretty obvious.
Sure does. That's where you just want to dig a hole and hide.
Evans starts the show. Clayton on the drive. Hawkins off the bench, and he's got the hot hand.
Smart offense. Two go-to guys sit. Give it to your third go-to guy, Deontay Hawkins.
He's only 3 for his last 15 from deep, but that one came at a big time. Now a 4-point lead. And the foul on the loose ball is against the Shockers. That's on Morris, his second.
Yeah, Tony Wills did a really good job of blocking off, and Morris trying to pursue the offensive glass work. Wills had position from the time the shot was taken. Watch Tony Wills, number 12, boy, just really physical, held his ground, and Morris goes over the back. Greg Marshall wants to be the call to be sliding underneath. I thought Wills had position early.
Disbelief for Marshall. That's why you do squats in the weight room. Wills gives up 80 pounds against Morris, and he just had him land on his back.
Yeah, he was blocking off very physically. I understand Greg Marshall's point. I just hate penalizing a guy that physically blocks off and holds his ground.
When he's doing exactly what he should be doing. You're right.
Illinois State now back to man-to-man. They've been in zones for about the last 5 possessions.
On those zone possessions, was there something that they wanted to accomplish or just a change of pace?
Yeah, they wanted Wichita State to move the ball more east and west and north and south, and they successfully did that.
It's a Redbirds 8-1 run.
Let's see if they go back to Hawkins here. Now watch number 23 in white. He's their go-to guy. I don't understand why, when you got a guy that's going, give him the ball. Keep feeding him. Big dogs like to eat. Give it to him.
That's got to be a huge frustration for coaches, right?
It is for me sitting here.
Shamet nearly got pickpocketed. Instead, the foul is on Tony Wills. Illinois State.
We told you this thing was going to be physical. You judge for yourself. Welcome to the Valley on Saturday night. The Shaq Morris comes right at you.
While we have a moment in praise of basketball greatness, let's recognize 91 consecutive victories for just how amazing a streak it is. The UConn women's team breaking their own record from a few years back. First it was 70, and now it's 91. That was the original mark to beat from the UCLA team. What Gino Ariema's team has done is just amazing, and they got off to a 16-0 start today against SMU. So they're just going to keep on rolling.
Yeah, Gino Ariema is an elite coach. Will it be male, female, or Martians? The guy would figure out a way to win.
Landry Shamet coming up empty on the front end of a 1-and-1 after the foul on Illinois State's Tony Wills before the timeout. Dane wanted to find the right spot. His shot doesn't go. Shockers down 5 with the ball. Reeves lost it into the hands of Hawkins, now Lee.
But Wichita State just keeps throwing bodies at you. Interesting to see how, if Illinois State, a lot of experience, typically you can't wear down experience.
Three from the corner is good. Sean Evans.
He's a little guy at just under 6 foot, but he's a huge spark for this Redbird basketball team.
Mark, it's now been 5 minutes since the last made field goal for the Shockers. They've had to go through a 2-3 zone, back to man-to-man. That's played straight up under the basket, and 2 great stops by Hawkins there, knowing how to use his body.
At the length of Illinois State bothering Wichita State in the paint.
Drive into the paint. Offensive foul is the call. Clayton has number 2.
Watch Austin Reeves move his feet and camp on that shoulder. Well, that's really good footwork for the freshman.
And I think that's a perfect play that shows the misconception where there's a lot of people who think your feet have to be set in order to draw a charge. Not true.
He established his guarding position and kept his guarding position.
Legal guarding position. He moved laterally. He's safe. Baseline try. No for Shamet. Now minute 45 to go. The lead out to 8 for the Redbirds. Lee trying to create space against Reeves. And he turns it over to the freshman. Down the floor, just his second shot attempt of the day. He's 0 for 2.
Well, Paris Lee might have made 1 mistake, but he sure didn't make 2. He hustled back and made a great defensive play there.
Shamet hoists wide right.
So the other thing Illinois State's doing, their length, it's one and done for Wichita State. When they play angry, it's about getting offensive rebounds and stickbacks. Give a lot of credit to the Redbirds for defensive rebounding here tonight.
Lee, corner. The Shockers, they come up the floor, turn it over nearly for the 9th time, but they're only shooting 33%. Positioning was too good there for Willis.
Good luck with that when Darrell Willis gets that deep.
That's their first field goal in almost 7 minutes of game time. Here a 15-second difference for the Redbirds between the game clock and the shot clock. 9 to shoot. 3 pulls the trigger, and Sean Evans is good from deep.
Boy, he's open a lot. You can bet that'll be adjustment at halftime for Wichita State.
Reeves steps through. No. Kelly with his 3rd foul going over the back.
Austin Reeves finds a gap and steps through. Can't quite convert, and then the over-the-back foul. Illinois State's playing with a lot of poise. A lot of poise right now.
Redbirds take a timeout. 2.7 seconds left in the first half. Couple of teams both with 6-game winning streaks and both 5-0 in conference play. So the winner will go to 6-0, the loser to 5-1. How about this? January 7th, 1998, Dan Muller, who's now in his 5th year as the head coach here, is wrapping up his senior season for the Redbirds. That was the last time that Illinois State had sole possession of first place. 19 years and 1 week ago. And once they grabbed that, they never gave it up, and they went on to the NCAA tournament. That was their last trip to March Madness.
Dan Muller, a gritty defensive player for the Redbirds, an academic All-American as well. Has come back to his alma mater, and this team, they figured it out at Hawaii. That's when I saw the parts and pieces start coming together for this basketball team. Some of it was injury. Some of it was just finally using their experience to their advantage.
Well, it's only about 29 degrees here tonight. I'd sign up for a trip to Hawaii to figure it out. It's been a good first half here in Normal. Illinois State up 36-27. Our halftime report comes your way right now. Doug Zeri, Andy Katz. battle for first place in the Missouri Valley Conference halfway home, where the Illinois State Redbirds have a 9-point lead over the Wichita State Shockers. Mike Cousins, Mark Adams with you here from Normal, Illinois, where the lead is 9. The Redbirds locked in on defense down the stretch there in the first half. Just one made bucket for the Shockers in the last 7.5 minutes.
They went to a little bit of zone defense, which knocked the Shockers off their game a little bit. And Deontay Hawkins really went off, the big 6'8" guy from Dayton, Ohio. We talked about this before the game, as he talked about he wanted to be more McDermott-like in that 12 to 14-foot area, and he's always been able to do this, knock down the three ball, but he's added layers to his game. Deontay Hawkins was huge in the first half with 7 points on 3 for 6 from the floor.
The player from the Gem City has shined through 20 minutes for the Redbirds. 34% from the field for the Shockers. Not where they'd want to be, but just about on par with what Illinois State has done defensively this season. 6th in the country in field goal percentage defense, as they've started off 13-4. Both of these squads 5-0 in Missouri Valley Conference play.
That's the third. That's the third on McIntosh with that elbow as he cleared out down on the low block. This is a big foul.
And the officials, while perhaps not calling the game to the liking of either head coach, have been consistent. The directive from J.D. Collins, who oversees all the officials for the NCAA, says, hey, look, you got to call the first foul, and when it's occurred tonight, it's been called every time in the post.
That was a really good example of calling the first foul, because I'll guarantee you there would have been a second one.
From deep, McDuffie knocks it in.
At 6'8", Marcus McDuffie can see over smaller defenders. That time, little Windex.
This is a rare matchup in the Valley tonight. It's the 4th time in the last 20 years that two teams that have started off 5-0 or better in the league have played one another. And in those first 3, that was also the Valley Championship game matchup. So perhaps a preview of what's to come later this year. Shamet thought he had some extra help down the lane. The attempt left block. McDuffie, second try, awkward look, but a picture-perfect finish.
Now, Marcus McDuffie has come out with an agenda here in the second half. Number 32 for Wichita State is making a statement here early in the half.
So just 5 points so far, coming off a team-high 26 on Wednesday against Loyola Chicago.
Starting to get a little bit chippy.
Don't act like you're surprised, Mark.
No, I'm not surprised at all. As Hawkins goes up strong right there, Willis just makes sure that he feels it.
And the chippiness started about 10 o'clock this morning here on this floor.
Yeah, a little miscommunication on what time both practices started. It actually started back during the Kung Fu fighting game when Jackie Carmichael coming down with a rebound and caught one of the Shockers with a foot right in the neck, and then all heck broke loose for about the next 42 seconds, and somehow Wichita State won that game. Ever since then, this rivalry has escalated. By the way, Jackie Carmichael, one of the great gentlemen, and a heck of a basketball player here, along with Osiris Eldridge and that bunch here at Illinois State. I loved watching that team. Tim Jankovic was the head coach back then, now at SMU.
Personnel swap for Greg Marshall. Rano Nurse, you're in at the forward spot as Morris takes a seat. Here comes another one for Hawkins. But made 9 of his last 10 coming into this game. 77% free throw shooter. And he connects there.
Wichita State, the best road team in the country since 2010, 2011. They've won 82% of their road games, facing a 5-point deficit here in the second half.
4-0 for the Shockers in true road games this year. And 7 straight wins in true road games. It's the second longest streak in the country, behind only Kansas, which has rattled off 8 straight.
I'm sure the Wichita State fans were just really thrilled to hear the Jayhawks have one more road win than them.
Well, you can look at it as a glass half full.
It's factual.
Is that if they go into first place, then who do they leapfrog to get there? Whoa! McDuffie does it again.
Like I said, he has an agenda. He wants to be the best player in the building, and so far he's showing it here in the second half.
Well, according to the numbers from Ken Pomeroy, he is the most efficient offensive player in the Missouri Valley Conference, doing what he does, 13 points a night in just 24 minutes a game.
Yeah, he's showing us now on that spurt why.
Lee probing. Fight for the loose ball. A couple bodies hit the deck. Shamet goes down.
Marcus McDuffie, shot clock running down, but he can see over smaller defenders. That's the advantage of a 6'8" guy. He and Darrell Willis, both at 6'8", they're like twins in some ways. They have differentiated games, but Marcus McDuffie on the perimeter, you put a guy that's 6'5" and under against him, he's just going to jump over you and shoot it. Tough kid from St. Anthony's in New Jersey. And now Illinois State goes back to the zone. We knew they'd go back to it. It worked well in the first half. Let's see if Wichita State can stop going east and west and penetrate it north and south.
And perhaps just try and slow down McDuffie, who's got all 8 shocker points here in the first 3 minutes of the second half.
It's a good call, Mike. When you got a guy like McDuffie, who's a really talented guy, and he gets it going, switch up your defenses to give the offense a different look. Sometimes they forget who the guy that brought him, and they don't get him the basketball.
So we saw that happen for a brief stretch in the first half as well. Nerger, a couple dribbles, turned away by McIntosh.
And who was open? Marcus McDuffie. Inside out would have worked well.
Not McIntosh, beg your pardon. It was Fain in the post. McIntosh on the bench with 3 fouls for the Redbirds.
Boy, McDuffie's playing hard. McDuffie that time with the swat. He's playing his tail off.
Fain picks up the personal. And that's 3 team fouls against the Redbirds. Up by 2.
And Marcus McDuffie, number 32, is playing like the baddest dude in the building right now.
He's got a size mismatch there over the top of Evans. If he does end up with a good look. 2 defenders flash to him when he touches it. Shockers turn it over.
And Nerger wasn't ready, didn't have his hands up.
Every player on the bench for Greg Marshall's got to be ready night in and night out. 10 players who average between 13 and 24 minutes a game.
I'd look for Deontay Hawkins here. He's the guy that bailed them out in the first half when they got sluggish offensively. Number 23, I'd be looking for him.
Just 5 on the shot clock now off the loose ball. Fain drives and delivers.
That's a big basket. You can tell Illinois State was starting to second guess a little bit offensively. Big basket from Phil Fain.
What a find for the Redbirds, and Dan Muller gives a lot of credit to Luke Yaklich, who found Fain. Last year was playing at Western Nebraska Community College. In case you're wondering, not a lot of air transport into the western part of the state. 3-hour drive from Denver.
I used to drive it from Billings. Try that sometime.
You want a player at Western Nebraska Community College, you really got to want to make that recruiting trip.
Bad.
Well, Fain's been a good pickup. A flight to Denver a couple times. Final on the west side of the state. Now a contributor here in Normal.
Nothing but antelopes.
It's another great big Monday doubleheader on ESPN, starting in the ACC. Number 11 and soon to rise, North Carolina hosting Syracuse at the Dean Dome at 7 Eastern, and then at 9 to Ames. In the Big 12, number 2 Kansas and the Iowa State Cyclones. Both games also streaming live on the ESPN app, and watch ESPN. Jayhawks are now 16-1, 5-0 in the league. 7-point win over Oklahoma State earlier today. Illinois State with the ball and a 2-point lead. All stripped away from McIntosh. Back into the game with 3 fouls. 3-pointer doesn't go. Clayton Redbirds have it again.
And now Mikhail McIntosh, he really wants it, trying to work down low.
No shot. The foul comes on the floor. How about McIntosh tonight? He's really been taken off his game by the Shockers. 13 minutes, 5 points. He's got those 3 fouls, so he's back into the game. But he averages about 29 minutes, 14 points a game. A huge part of what they do. And DJ Clayton gets the basket there.
Wichita State sleeping defensively. They gave away those 2 points. Good execution by Illinois State.
It's 3 fouls on McIntosh, 3 for McDuffie for the Shockers as well.
McDuffie really probing. Look how he's going into that dead area of the zone. They got to recognize him and give it to him.
Mark, you and I were looking at the exact same thing. Frankamp surprised he was open from 13 feet. It kicks out to Brown, who knocks down the jumper.
Well, Zach Brown can be a little bit erratic offensively. When he plays offense well, that's a bonus for Wichita State.
McIntosh likes the look and the finish.
Yeah, he can play with his back to the basket. He can face up. Really good athlete, Mikhail McIntosh. Let's see if they can get into that valley area of the zone. Coming from the backside underneath the zone, that's where they've been able to expose it. Look, Frankamp.
Shamet went off the screen and over to Brown. 32% three-point shooter. 1 point game now.
He has the same poise that Ron Baker did as a redshirt freshman. Shamet has that same look about him.
Evans tried to reciprocate. Offensive rebound for Njai. It was a 9-point lead just 7 minutes ago for Illinois State at the break. And now they're up 43-42. No surprise, this one will not end up in the 90s at the end of the night. 2 top 10 field goal percentage defense teams in the country. McIntosh over the shoulder.
I love what Illinois State's doing right now. They're recognizing who their best player is, and they continue to give him the basketball, and that's Mikhail McIntosh for Illinois State. Number 11's getting it done.
Brown, he's feeling confident. Greg Marshall has said, hey, look, he's a great defender. Any offense we get from him sometimes is going to be a bonus. That clearly not the shot they were looking for.
Now, that's one of those deals where he goes to his coach and says, but, Coach, I was open.
And then the coach says,
there's a reason why you're open.
You know, I've heard that one personally before. The way I got that said to me was, in high school, I was a teammate of Sean Kilpatrick, now with the Brooklyn Nets.
I love Sean.
2-on-2 drill, right? I'm paired up with Sean,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
Which is the biggest talent mismatch of the 21st century. And I take the shot, whistle blows, drill comes to a stop. Coach says, who do you think we want taking the shot, you or him?
Yeah.
And I never shot again.
No, well, and for good reason. Sean Kilpatrick, one of the toughest dudes I've ever seen, and a great young man, played for the Cincinnati Bearcats. Now, of course, having a wonderful career with the Brooklyn Nets. He's one of my favorite guys ever in college basketball, Sean Kilpatrick.
Willis goes off the mark. Here comes Lee, the assist leader in the Valley at about 5 a game. A drive, a dish.
Nice.
And it's 2 more for DJ Clayton.
And Paris Lee with the blind bounce pass inside.
4th assist of the night for Lee.
Lee's starting to extend a little bit defensively. This is where he gets steals at the top of the zone. He anticipates. Gets into passing lanes. Watch number 1 ball hawk a little bit.
Morris back to the outside for Brown, who traveled with it. A year ago, that might not have been a travel called, at least. The officials much more on top of it this season.
Paris Lee was named after the French city, and I like this little bit of French pastry right here. Lay it down, Paris Lee.
Battle for first in the Valley. The Redbirds over the Shockers by 5. April 7th, 2015. A date that He'll be long remembered here at Illinois State. The loss of 7 staff and friends, including associate head coach Torrey Ward, whose memory lives on now with the footgear of Paris Lee.
Paris Lee wears Tony Ward's Jordan 10s. Why? Torrey's mother gave him permission to come over, Janice Torrey, and asked him, Paris, what do you want? I know that my son would want you to have something of his. He chose the Jordans. He wore them over the last year and finally broke them into a point where he wanted to use them in the game to honor Torrey Ward, a tremendous husband, father, friend, community member here in Normal. And now this young man wears his shoes, and since he put them on, the Redbirds are 5-0. God bless Torrey Ward, one of the really fine gentlemen in college basketball, a dear friend of Dan Muller's, a huge loss to the community here at Illinois State. It's wonderful to see a leader like Paris Lee wear the shoes of a leader like Torrey Ward.
And Coach Muller said, look, you can wear whatever shoes you want. As long as they fit in with the color scheme of the school, it's all good. And it has been exactly that for Illinois State. They've won 6 straight, 8-0 at home this year, defending their home court against Wichita State, 47-42. Beautiful feed, one dribble, southpaw jam for Fade.
This zone has been effective. They did it last year for the win. They're doing it again.
And Reeves gets turned away. Second try, it's cleaned up by Morris. The defense at the rim tonight by Illinois State has at times bordered on absolutely phenomenal.
But on this end is where Wichita State needs to make a stand. We've talked about their ability defensively, but Illinois State getting good shot after good shot after good shot.
Clayton is the first player to hit the 10-point mark tonight for the Redbirds.
Boy, McIntosh has been really good passing it, scoring it. Watch this.
Lee had 3 defenders on him. Wide open from the corner. Hawkins a triple. Timeout, Wichita State. As Illinois State with a 3-pointer from Deontay Hawkins puts them up 54-44, tying their largest lead of the night.
Paris Lee sees everything in this building. Deontay Hawkins, splat! The road team's in trouble.
Tomorrow night, the 15th annual Martin Luther King Jr. celebration game between the Bulls and the Grizzlies at the FedEx Forum. The Grizz will debut their MLK 50 Pride uniforms, 9 Eastern on ESPN, also streaming live on the ESPN app. Watch ESPN. Largest lead of the night for Illinois State, 54-44, 9:10 to go here, second half. Wichita State is a team that when it goes on the road, it does not fall often.
And look at Gonzaga in second place. They're down 6 percentage points. That's how good Wichita State has been. You know you're really good when it turns into a party. When all of a sudden, Wichita State's down 10 and still has a shot in the second half, but this place was going nuts a few minutes ago.
Coming up after this one finishes, we'll head out west to Spokane, the Zags and St. Mary's. Tip-off set for 10 Eastern.
Talk about stingy defense. Gonzaga, number 7 in the country. They hold opponents under 38%. Shema Karnowski, high efficiency big guy inside. I love him.
Foul is on Wichita State's Landry Shamet. That's his first on what has been a frustrating night for Greg Marshall and the Shockers.
You just saw a rarity. I think Greg Marshall has called about 5 timeouts the entire season. Credit to Illinois State, playing really well. They won here last year. They're trying to duplicate it again.
February 2nd of 2016. That was the last road loss for Wichita State, at the time ranked number 21 in the country.
Great block off by Landry Shamet. Holy cow. That was good stuff.
Hawkins, even with the miss, still the leading scorer tonight for the Redbirds with 11. It's also a game high. Scoring has been well distributed across both teams tonight. How about the running toss for McDuffie?
So Shamet fundamentally blocks off on one end, and Marcus McDuffie gets the opportunity to score on the opposite end. It's amazing what little things do for you to stop a run.
He's now got 10. Willis and McDuffie, each with 10 points to lead the Shockers. Lee has looked less for his own shot here in the second half than he did in the first. McIntosh, smooth as he heads back down the floor.
That was really good defense. It's just better offense. McDuffie was in perfect position there. That's how good Mikal McIntosh is.
He's become such a better scorer over the course of his career. Went from 6 points a game as a freshman, now to 14 points a game as a junior. Bucket is good. 7:30 to play in the second. Hawkins whistled for a second foul.
Yeah, Landale's really, really good. Anybody named Jock, I like him, by the way. But how about Shemet Karnowski? Big dude, can catch it, finishes with authority, 59%. Nigel Williams-Goss has a great stat line, steals it, assists it, scores it. And Jordan Matthews over 40% from three. I think Gonzaga's going to run the table.
A bold prediction.
There you go. We're not in this to be shy. You know what I'm saying? I think Gonzaga's going to run the table.
I like it. I will also point out that I picked in October Florida State as a Final Four team. Another bold prediction there. So far, so good. Even though they lost today at North Carolina, but tough to win on the road anywhere, let alone at the Dean Dome.
So we're gonna start bragging about Final Four picks, right?
I'm just doing it while I have the opportunity. Just let's say the season doesn't play out as Leonard Hamilton hopes.
I admire your pick. In 2010, July of 2010, who was the only guy who said that Butler would go to the Final Four? Since we're bragging.
Brad Stevens.
Well, that could be. That could be. But he heard it from me,
nice
but I told him.
There was two guys. Along with the former Division I head coach, Mark Adams, Mike Cousins, with you here in Normal, Illinois. Redbirds on the break. And the foul. Nerger hit the deck underneath. Never got a really definitive signal there. Offensive foul.
And McIntosh goes up. Nerger clearly outside of the cylinder. He establishes defensive guarding position. That's the right call.
And as we got to look at the replay, it's 4 fouls on McIntosh. We got to look at the replay there. The baseline official did have the call for the charge. So a good call right away to send it back down the floor. Shockers looking to make it a comeback down 7. McDuffie
Hawkins
nearly had
off.
it.
Yeah, Hawkins pushed off.
Hawkins now has his 3rd foul. McDuffie has been the hot hand in this second half. 10 points, all of them after the break.
Hawkins zipping his mouth shut right there. Now, that's a sign of maturity. Once upon a time, Deontay Hawkins would have responded and probably lost his cool. But he's matured so much. He held his tongue. It's about the next play, not that play. I like that from Deontay Hawkins.
All of a sudden, things are tightening up. Tony Wills, foul number 2.
And now it's the 1-and-1, and we talked about the depth versus potential foul trouble for Illinois State. Mikal McIntosh with 4, DJ Clayton with 3, Deontay Hawkins with 3.
And Dan Muller can reliably go, let's say, 8 deep, sometimes 9 if he wants to, but it's certainly not the same as the luxury that Greg Marshall has with a true 10-man rotation.
And it's not like there are guards. There's a bunch of big dudes. He can spend a lot of fouls across the front line and not lose very much.
Two for 2 on that trip for Shamet. Full court pressure from the Shockers.
Remember, Paris Lee owned this segment of the game a year ago. Let's see if he steps up and makes big plays now. Number 1 white, Paris Lee.
He had 19 in that upset win last year. Here on Doug Collins' court, 13 points coming in the second half. Lob just off the mark, looking for Fane.
I go to Darrell Willis inside. I try to go right at Deontay Hawkins to pick up his fourth. There it is. He's got to attack now. He can't back off there. He's got to attack Hawkins.
Well, he certainly lowered his odds of making the shot after dribbling from 3 to 17 feet, but he still drains it, makes it a 3-point game, and that will raise the eyebrows on the Redbird bench. Timeout, Dan Muller.
You having fun?
Best night of my life.
Attaboy.
Illinois State led by 9 at the break. The lead is now 3 in a battle for sole possession of first place in the Missouri Valley Conference. The 4th time in the last 20 years that 2 teams 5-0 or better have squared off. The last 3, that's also been the championship game matchup in the Valley. Illinois State has not held first place solely since January of '98.
Both these teams have won 6 in a row. The Redbirds, 9 out of their last 10. Wichita State, 10 out of their last 11. 2 hot teams in the Valley.
Willis and Fane going at it underneath the basket. 3rd foul on Willis for the Shockers. So it's Willis and McDuffie and Kelly, the reserve forward as well, all with 3 fouls. Lee from 3, and he connects his first points since 4.5 minutes into the game.
He's a gutty little dude. Now let's see if they go to Willis again, matched up with Hawkins down low.
Brenkamp, bounce feed, McDuffie, corner try, no. Shaq Morris whistled for the foul after the missed 3. As he goes down, they get him dragging McIntosh with him.
Boy, coming out of the timeout, I am sure that Greg Marshall talked about that Willis-Hawkins matchup. They just didn't recognize it and get it to him.
A little bit of a different look here now for the Redbirds, taking Lee off the ball and putting it in the hands of McIntosh. The pitch back for Hawkins. Yes, sir! Brenkamp.
Low.
Can't answer.
Wichita State looks a little bit panicked offensively here. See if they settle down.
Pull-up triple, Shamet. In between a bunch of bodies, Willis was going right back up, and Fane struck him on the arm.
So Dan Muller calls on Mikhail McIntosh to take the point guard responsibilities. Why? Because you got two bigs defending a ball screen, and they don't communicate. They're not in that situation very much, where you got two 6'8" guys that can play a pick and pop, and Deontay Hawkins was wide open.
The danger there as well is that you've got a couple of great three-point shooters also. McIntosh 40% and Hawkins 42%. Pick your poison in that situation.
Yeah, Illinois State, one of two teams in the country that has their top three scorers that average over 43% from three. One of two teams in the country. Two of those guys are Deontay Hawkins and Mikhail McIntosh. We just saw why that's so valuable in the pick and pop circumstance.
The other team there, and that's with at least 50 three-point field goals attempted, is UMBC of the America East.
Here comes the press.
Willis hits the free throw, 62-55 with 4:33 to go. Broken with ease by the Redbirds. They haven't been to 6-0 in league play since 2008. Lee with the dish, fade, two tries, jump ball is the call. Nerzier got a hand on it, and it stays with Illinois State.
So think about the last possession when Shaq Morris was in the game trying to defend the pick and roll, pick and pop. They put Ronald Nerzier in for defense. That's why.
McIntosh, oh, 40% from deep, line it up.
Hard to guard.
Three defenders come in. Jump ball at one end, jump ball at the other. Shockers keep it this time.
Wichita State hardly ever loses on the road. But tonight, Mikhail McIntosh believes.
Yes, Doug, but it has been somewhat abnormal in that Wichita State may, if the score holds, end up on the losing end here. And their last road loss was February 2nd of 2016. They've rattled off 7 straight true road games since then. But Illinois State with 14 each from Mikhail McIntosh and Deontay Hawkins looking to stay perfect in the Valley.
It's been a week of unbeatens playing each other. Conference USA, Middle Tennessee knocked off Marshall, who were both undefeated. Cincinnati over SMU in the American. Both were undefeated.
Earlier this week in the SEC, saw Florida go on the road and stay undefeated at Alabama as well. Redbirds with their last 9 points coming from beyond the arc, where they've shot 4 of 7. They were in the second half. Now they give it up. Shamet left his feet, tried to feed it into the logo. Brown, plenty of time.
Boy, this zone really active.
Hawkins going to get called for the reach-in. That's his 4th. So foul trouble, striking at the top of the leaderboard for Illinois State. Hawkins and McIntosh, each with 4 personals. That's the 9th against the Redbirds.
So now you put the ball in the hands of Paris Lee, who's been a really good closer, really since Hawaii.
Last time McIntosh initiated the offense, it was only good things. He lost his footing, and Wills hit as he goes up. Wills, who's been such a versatile player throughout the course of his career, now in his senior season, he's played anywhere from the 1 through the 4. When he got here, it was a bit of an undersized squad, and now fitting in well in the role he's taken on this year. Coming back from a double sports hernia surgery about 6 weeks before the season started. It really didn't hit his offensive groove, Dan Muller said, until finals came around.
Or they are leaving the door open here. But this zone has been downright stingy. Paris Lee gets the deflection.
12th turnover for the Shockers. And the red-clad crowd sensing the upset victory could happen for a second year in a row at Redbird Arena.
Boy, they are just feeding McIntosh every chance they get.
Double teamed and to the deck. Free throw line is next for the Canadian product.
Boy, he's so herky-jerky when he gets the ball down in that 14, 15-foot area and goes to work. He's constantly selling a head fake, a ball fake, a pivot. Got a little Joe Frazier in his game. You know, kind of duck and move.
Now he's got 15. And that's pretty much where he's been over the last few games in Valley play. The last 4 averaging 18 points a night. He's already gone off this year against Indiana State a week ago. Had 31 against the Sycamores. Now 2 minutes to go. This is as large as the advantage has been all night for the Redbirds.
They're smelling it normal.
Travel.
Great defense. Not good defense. Great defense. Well, this would be a huge win for Dan Muller and Illinois State. This is a veteran basketball team that could feed off of this confidence. They have solid leadership in Paris Lee. You got 2 6'8" guys that can play, and Mikhail McIntosh and Deontay Hawkins. Those 3 can beat a lot of people anywhere.
Lee dribbled it off his foot. Hit by Frank Camp. 19 fouls against the Shockers. Now free throws coming for Lee. Paris Lee, the senior from here in Illinois, is a guy who has the utmost trust of his head coach, Dan Muller. Both ends of the floor to get the job done. And now the opportunity to help be their closer.
His father, Clarence Lee, passed away when he was 12 years old. He passed away in his sleep. He learned respect from his biological father. Anthony Franklin came into his life as a stepdad. He's a truck driver and taught him discipline. Well, dad up in heaven and stepdad on earth, you ought to be pretty doggone proud of Paris Lee tonight and throughout his career here at Illinois State.
McDuffie. Nerzier gets it back outside in a fresh 30 seconds. They want to score a lot quicker than that, and they do, as Shamet hits from deep. Now full court pressure, and Frank Camp wanted the traveling call. Instead, he picks up the foul, which makes it 2 free throws for the Redbirds. Wichita State has really gone cold here down the stretch. 0 for 6 from the floor in the last 6 minutes. Big Monday North Carolina hosting Syracuse at the Dean Dome, 7 Eastern, and then at 9 it's off to Ames, the Big 12, number 2 Kansas, and Iowa State. Both games streaming live on the ESPN app, and watch ESPN. A potential for Kansas in that game to be in the number 1 spot. Tough week for Baylor.
Yep.
Turn out number 1, and then you got to go play West Virginia.
Who didn't predict that? I mean, I knew Baylor wasn't going to be number 1 for very long going to West Virginia. Good luck with that deal. They are nuts in that place.
Frank Camp. Air balls a 3. I don't know about that shot.
Well, credit Illinois State. That zone has been downright nasty tonight. They went to it last year and won, and Dan Muller went to the well again, and the zone has been very effective for Illinois State.
Foul along the boundary, 4th on Frank Camp, and we talked a lot about winning streaks in this league, a lot of them pertaining to Wichita State. But how about the way that the Redbirds have defended their home court? A win here would be 15 straight home victories for Illinois State. Last home loss for Illinois State, January 15th of last year against Evansville.
You know, as an observer of the Valley, and downright I'll say it, I'm a fan of the Valley. And I've been waiting and watching this Illinois State team to mature. I've been waiting for Deontay Hawkins to realize that maybe made a mistake or two, but could bounce back from it. And tonight is the culmination of that maturity of this basketball team.
Shamet back-to-back 3-pointers, 11-point game with a minute to go.
He is fun to watch. What a career he's going to have and is having.
Just a redshirt freshman, the native of Kansas City. The Shockers stop the clock with 49 seconds.
Well, you almost feel like when you're in the Valley, when you play Wichita State, you're playing with house money. Because they win so much in conference play. They win so much on the road that even when you're playing at home, you feel like you're playing on the road in a way that you're playing with house money. A great opportunity to get a win that a lot of other programs may not get against Wichita State. But this is a significant win for Illinois State. 2 undefeated teams come in. One of them is going to leave this building with a loss. And it looks like Illinois State's going to remain undefeated in Missouri Valley Conference play.
How about the rest of the league this year? You got 2 teams 5-0 coming into play tonight. It looks like Illinois State will go to 6-0. Who's the next best threat? Is it Missouri State?
You know, first of all, Barry Hinson understands the moment as well as any coach I've ever been around. And Sean O'Brien and that bunch, he's got good guards there that can control tempo and make plays. So Southern Illinois at 4-2 right now. But I do like Missouri State. DeQuan Miller, really good player.
Alizé Johnson, 13 points a game,
Johnson,
10 rebounds a night.
He's a double-double guy. I mean, he went for 30 and 10 the other night. So Paul Lusk has a team that's really fundamentally sound defensively. You got 2 guys that could really play along with some other parts and pieces. I get to see them in person tomorrow against a good Loyola team. And Milton Doyle on ESPNU at 3 o'clock Central, 4 o'clock Eastern. Milton Doyle went for 35 last week as well, along with Andre Jackson inside the Jackson hole for Loyola. He can really score 60% from the floor. That's going to be a fun game as well. So there's 3 teams, I think Loyola, Missouri State, along with Southern Illinois that are hanging in there right now.
You got 25% of the returning scoring in the Valley comes from the senior class for Southern Illinois. So perhaps other teams around the league watching the result here tonight in Normal, feeling a little bit more hope than in years past. Clayton, the foul, his 4th.
And if you haven't seen the Barry Hinson interview post-game after the Illinois State game about Paris Lee's hair, you have to go see it. Trust me. Search it, go see it.
Can we get a teaser?
That is good hair right there, man.
You're known for the green tie. Can we expect any green accents in your hair coming up at any point?
I'll do anything for ratings.
A St. Patrick's Day special with green stripes in your hair?
Yeah. I'd go green. I'm not guaranteeing it. I never know.
But the door is open.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that wears an orange tuxedo in Wichita for New Year's Eve, I'll go green hair. It's no problem.
What was the biggest difference maker tonight? Was it one player or was it the zone defense?
Well, I think Mikhail McIntosh in the second half was really good in his mid-range game. Deontay Hawkins was really good in mid and long-range game in the first half. And that leader, Paris Lee, who, by the way, gets counsel. Paris Lee! Mikhail McIntosh! Exclamation point!
And a chance to dribble off the clock. For the first time in 19 years in 1 week, the Illinois State Redbirds sit alone in first place in the Missouri Valley Conference. 76-62 the final. On behalf of our entire crew, my partner Mike Adams, Mike Cousins, saying thanks for watching. To the studio, Doug Kazarian, Andy Katz, so long from normal.